Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, blow winds blow and crack your cheeks, training turbines in Grimsby. And computer whiz kids, how the children teach the teachers about IT. And I'll be talking to Lizzie Clubley, recently voted the sexiest farmer in Britain. Welcome to Estuary TV News, I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. A man has died in Grimsby after sustaining serious injuries in the early hours of this morning. The man, believed to be in his 30s, was taken to hospital by ambulance where he died a short time later. A 48-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the incident and remains in police custody. Anyone with any kind of information about this case is asked to get in touch with Humberside Police. EastEnders reaches its 30th year this week, and to celebrate the 30 years of programming, GeoFacts has put together a list of the places featured on the show that also feature elsewhere. Of course, while the Albert Square in the programme is fictional and filmed in studios, there is a real Albert Square in London. There's also a real Albert Square in Hull, as pointed out in the survey, alongside 19 other Albert Squares across the country. Krispy Kreme, the American donut seller, has caused a media storm after advertising for a slightly odd offer on the 18th of February. KKK Wednesday was supposed to stand for Krispy Kreme Club at their shop in Hull, but instead was met with criticism from users on Twitter after they pointed out the initial's other meaning. Here are a selection of some of the tweets from users, some saying that this could only happen in Hull, others branding it as an epic fail. The people of Hull are missing out because the KC Stadium isn't used enough for non-sporting events. That's according to a report commissioned by the council into the KC, which it invested £43 million into in 2001. It was originally hoped that 20 community events every year would be held there, but this hasn't happened. It's now operated by a company owned by Hull City owners, the Allams. The club has not responded to requests for a comment.
I believe when the council first set it up back in those days, that it was listed in around having 20 events. I think it's noticeable. You usually look at the type of events that have taken place, whereas once they did have the big pop concerts, for example, those aren't happening. The community events likewise. I think there does need to be more work done by those involved to see whether those can come back.
That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. If you've got any news for us in the meantime, please call us on Grimsby 01472 31553 or contact us on Facebook or Twitter. Bye for now.
With work on the Siemens plant starting in Hull, training for future employees of the offshore wind industry is underway, and there's a unique wind turbine replica in Grimsby set to bring new experiences to local students, as Dave Nunn went to find out.
This new working replica wind turbine is the latest tool in preparation for the arrival of the offshore industry. The turbine will give an important experience to the engineers of the future, but builds on the basics.
A lot of the engineering principles we offer here at the University and in general FE. Things such as fluid dynamics, thermodynamics, hydraulic power, the use of wind energy converted into electricity using the generator on board. This actual demonstrator has been reconfigured so we can actually drive it inside the building to demonstrate how all the other systems work. And of course it allows for the service engineering training and information sharing by use of the actual control systems on board.
Nautilus is a company that has invested in offshore wind on Lowestoft, a town which draws similarities to the Humber region. They say that investment has changed the town and will do the same here.
If you head down there now into Lowestoft, you will find the Orbis Energy Centre there, which has become a complete conduit for the sector, for the energy sector, into the area. You'll find a port much akin to what you've got here, with SSE basing their O&M operations out of it. You'll find 30 to 40 CTVs, crew transfer vessels, little boats running in and out on a regular basis. And you'll find we have a wind turbine training tower on shore at the local college there. So it's quite an interesting set of circumstances which aren't dissimilar to where we are here.
For the students and people who will be employed by the industry, experiences like working with this turbine bring huge opportunities.
It's a fantastic opportunity for us once again. An area that we'll be looking into will be around the repair and maintenance of wind turbines, because obviously they have quite a substantive lifespan. There's a whole industry building up around that maintenance operations that are required for the equipment, along with something else that we'll be looking and moving into along the lines of blade maintenance, because obviously from a piece of equipment it's the blades that get more damaged than anything else. And obviously that again leads into other areas that we can look at from an educational perspective, from a training perspective.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later in this programme, we ask questions of little kids, this week from Goxhill Primary School.
We are from Goxhill Primary School.
And Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. We think of mud, tractors and EU subsidies when we think of farmers, welly boots and flat caps. Farmers Weekly decided to find the more glamorous side of agriculture and so held a competition for the sexiest farmer in Britain. Of the women, the winner was Lizzie Clubley from Skirler in East Yorkshire, and she joins me now. Lizzie, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure it was not a difficult decision for the people who made this judgment.
Oh, I don't know. The other girls were absolutely beautiful.
How did you get involved in the competition?
Basically, the ladies in the local shop had seen the competition and said, "We think you ought to go for that." And I said, "Oh, I don't know, you know." They described it as sexy girls in wellies, and I thought, well, that sounds a bit strange.
That sounds delightful, really.
Well, it would, yeah. To me, it sounded weird.
So what was the process? You put your name forward, or you had your name put forward by your friends, as it were, or you were forced into it. So what happened then?
We sent a picture of me just at work. We'd just literally been bedding up the pigs and sent a picture in. And it's just me in my overalls, just very basic, not much makeup, well, hardly any makeup to be fair. And sent it in and didn't hear anything, you know, for a while. And then just after Christmas, I got a phone call saying I was in the top 5 in the UK, and I was floored. I still am floored, to be fair. And yeah, then they said it would go to public vote, and it went in the magazine and online, and I won the public vote. I'm so humbled.
Do you always just put on just a little makeup, a touch of lippy when you're bedding down the pigs?
No, straw would get stuck. No.
You came through this. The result came through about 2 weeks ago, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, I've known for a couple of weeks, but I've had to keep it.
I see. Okay. So you've got this triumph. You won the women's category. Who won the men's category?
A lovely chap called George Grant.
And where's he from?
He's from somewhere in Lincolnshire.
Now, he won the men's category. He's from Lincolnshire. You're from East Yorkshire. Is it possible that Estuary TV broadcasts only to the beautiful people?
You could say that.
That everybody in our area, nobody else has a chance. It's quite glamorous to be the sexiest farmer in Britain. I don't think you're taking it too seriously. No. I'm glad to say, but it's the purpose of the competition was what?
I think it's good. It's got people talking about farming, and it's maybe getting people interested in going into farming as a career, because it is a fantastic career to be in.
Well, tell me your story a little bit. How did you get into farming?
I studied at Bishop Burton as a horticulture student and set up my own little business. I worked doing gardening and maintenance and designing for a couple of years, and in the winter, you know, when the weather gets bad, I would go and find a pub job to make sure that I could pay my mortgage and, you know, make sure that everything was paid. I'd do anything really. I didn't never turn my nose up. I was a garden centre elf one year, which was really good fun, really good fun. And one of the jobs that I did, it was at this farm, and they'd say, "What do you do in winter?" And I said, "Well, you know, I get by." And they said, "How do you fancy working for us? And we'll look after you. You know, we'll make sure you're busy in winter and your hard times, but you look after us in the summer and you do your overtime." So, you know, with harvest and re-sowing back in. So that's how it happened. I fell into it. And I love it.
And it's fascinating work, I guess, but it's tough work, isn't it, working on a farm?
It is tough work. You've got to have a really good sense of humour, because there's times when you have got to laugh, because you'd cry otherwise. It's dirty, cold work in winter, but it's very rewarding.
And it's physical work too.
It is physical.
You were showing me your bruises.
I know. I managed to trap my arm earlier in the week. It's certainly, I mean, I don't have to go to the gym. I keep fit. Sometimes I look too muscly. I sometimes think, oh, I look a bit of a boy, but you know, it's better to be nice and fit and muscly.
You don't have to worry about that. You're the sexiest farmer in England. What type of farming do you do? What are you involved with?
It's mainly arable. I would say it's 99% arable is our farm. We have some bed and breakfast pigs.
Some bed and breakfast pigs?
Yeah, so it's another farmer's pigs and we look after them, you know, and they sort it out between themselves. And so we make sure that they've got a nice warm bed and they're clean, and we check them every day and make sure the feeders are working. And we have turkeys as well. We have Kelly Bronze turkeys. We get those in July and we grow them through till Christmas.
And I guess you don't have any left on Boxing Day?
No.
Good. Well, that's a healthy sale then, isn't it? Would you recommend farming as a career? Because it seems to me a difficult ladder to climb. You can't ever actually own your own farm, really, unless you happen to be a millionaire by some other means and buy enough land to have a viable farm, or you have to inherit it. There's no real way of climbing up the career ladder to the point of being an owner farmer, is there?
There is, but it would be, you know, you've got to work your way up there. You'd have to start at the bottom of the ladder, work your way up, and just...
But you can't ever hope by working in a lifetime to earn sufficient funds to buy a farm that's large enough to be commercially viable, can you?
Maybe, some people, yeah. It depends what sort of a business head you've got and if you want to do it. I mean, anything's possible. If you set your heart on it, you can do it.
Because you don't have farming in your background, particularly a couple of generations ago. You're not a character from the Archers, are you? I mean, you're not, and you're not sort of landed squirearchy. It's just been thrown on you. This is done by your own hard work.
Something I've just rolled into. I mean, my granddad was a dairy farmer, and my dad was a dairy farmer. He worked on the farm, but that was they went out of business long before I was born. So maybe a good 35 to 40 years ago. I mean, milk was starting to struggle then. It was starting to get, you know, the farmers were struggling. And so I was brought up, my dad went into construction after he was a farmer. So I wasn't brought up directly in it. I just went to, you know...
Fell into it, as you say.
Fell into it, yeah.
But that was, I mean, that's lucky for you, but it's an industry that's in a bit of trouble. We know milk prices are terribly low at the moment, and that's very controversial. But it's also, there is all sorts of talk about those subsidies from the European Union I mentioned earlier on, that they might not be lasting forever, and that there's an awful lot of farmers who have all, if they own the farm, they have all this asset, but absolutely no income whatsoever. So is it a trade that's worth getting into?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, you've got to think, if every farmer said, right, I'm not doing it anymore, it's too much hard work, how would we eat? We'd have to get, you know, we have to import all our food from, you know, strange sources. You never know what you're getting. There's been meat scandals recently. You never know what you'd be getting. So if every farmer in the country said, right, let's jack it in, we'd struggle. You know, you don't realise how much you rely on a farmer for your breakfast, lunch and tea.
Now, this business of being sexiest farmer in Britain, I take it that that this allows you, as farming at stock anyway, is all about breeding, of course. So this allows you your complete choice of sires.
So, do you mean chaps?
If I may, I'm trying to use the most agricultural terms I can.
Yeah.
Am I being indelicate? Forgive me, I am, I say.
No, of course not. No, I'm marrying my childhood sweetheart. We've been together 10 years, so I'm off the market. You know, yeah, we get married this year, so.
And is he interested in farming as well?
Yeah, he did a bit of work on a pig farm back when, before we met, probably when he was 15,
Lizzie,
16.
You make it sound so glamorous. Thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations on a very well-deserved victory. This week we asked the big questions of the little kids at Goxhill Primary School.
We are from Goxhill Primary School. Is it fair that the wealthiest 1% of people will soon own more wealth than everyone else combined?
Well, it depends whether they earned their money honestly. If they did, then it's fair because they've earned it. But some of the people who live in, like, India don't actually have the opportunity to go to work.
It's really just not fair, because for poor people don't have as much money and they don't have the opportunities as the rich people do.
I don't think it's fair because even if they did earn it, they could at least give a little bit away to charity, even if it was just 50p a month or something like that.
I think yes and no, because you can keep some of the money, but also it's not, if you keep all the money, it's not fair on the other people who haven't got all that money.
Well, like, if they have worked hard and earned it, then they should keep some of it, but it doesn't mean they can't give some of it to charity.
It wasn't on the curriculum when I was at school, though books were available. Nowadays, information technology is an integral part of what our children learn at school. Many of them are computer literate before they even enter a classroom for the first time and could probably teach the teachers a thing or two. So how do those trying to direct the learning stay ahead? Dan Kemp went to see the students become the teacher.
The KC Lightstream Stadium has been playing host to a Tech for Schools event to keep teachers up to date with the latest technological advancements.
It starts within very early years, Key Stage 1. It's, but they're not frightened. They're not frightened, they're born with it. They're born with it, they're eager, they generally, they know more than we do. But it's actually challenging them and actually working them so that they can actually develop through the years.
As part of the morning of discussion, teachers from East Yorkshire and Lincolnshire were given the opportunity to talk to leaders in ICT teaching and hear about the different ways technology can help them in the classroom.
We've got to make sure that we are showing the expertise, that we can put this in the classroom, that we can be an inspiration to the students who are so in tune with computing, and the understanding of leadership being important, having the right balance, the broad breadth of the curriculum, covering e-safety, and making sure that we are equipped with having the best experience in school for the children who will then take computing into the real world.
And of course, in some cases, the pupils know more than their teachers, and that's an obstacle that they have to overcome, as what children need to learn in their early years continues to evolve.
We have students who eat and breathe computing. They love it and they want to advance, and it's our job to facilitate that. So having students who can lead clubs, students who can be an inspiration, we enter competitions to stretch and challenge, and the kids are really striving.
Schools seem really pleased that they've been able to work with different computer programming. We've used Lego today to show a really good output, and staff are sort of leaving a bit more relieved that they're doing the right things in schools.
Time now to find out what's going on in Caister. We ask Alan Kane.
It's being used as much as one hopes. The problem we've had is a lack of space. As you know, it's a mix of heritage, display space, art area, a library and cafe. Obviously the cafe is the main commercial area. That obviously is required to fund much of the rest. The initial grants obviously are not as frequent as they were. The heritage area was never going to be big enough. It got smaller because of the demands of the library at the time. They took part of what was going to be in the heritage gallery. But it's in use regularly. Finding somewhere to park around here quite often is a problem. So, because I live near it. And particularly on a day-to-day, cold, fresh, you'll see people out enjoying morning coffee on the terrace. And watching Caister pass them by continuously. I mean, there's always things happening. We're a small town with big aspirations, and from that point of view, yes, we always want to move forward. For instance, play equipment. Everybody would love to see the same amount of play equipment here as, say, somewhere like Immingham or Grimsby. Our biggest problem is we don't have enough chimney pots. In other words, not enough taxpayers to support what people would really like. And that is true of so many places. And although the government have cut, there are still places one can get money. And I'm pleased to say, a lot of things are things like there's a big lottery. There's REN. REN is waste recycling credits. Money that comes from, the more that goes into recycling, the more money comes into REN, and they distribute to worthy projects within 10 mile, I think it is, of a recycling or waste depot.
And are you going for any grants at the moment from anywhere for anything in particular, maybe?
Permanently. Youth facilities is one of those. We're trying to get stuff particularly for teens down on the park, down on the sports ground. They've had a raw deal for years, but trying to get something down there so they can enjoy themselves. But again, it's just hard work because we've got one officer, one town clerk, a lot of good volunteers in the shape of the town council and people who help out. But at the end of the day, most of the stuff is being totally voluntary.
Here's Dan Kemp with the sport.
Scunthorpe United take on Chesterfield at Glanford Park tonight. The Iron are hopeful that midfielders Neil Bishop and Isaiah Osborne are fit to feature, but wide man Gary McSheffrey will miss the game due to his current suspension. United sit 18th in League One, 6 points above the relegation zone, but also just 6 points from the playoffs, with 2 games in hand over many of the teams around them. Hull Stingrays match winner from Sunday night has said that the comeback victories epitomise the character their side possesses. The Rays trailed 3-2 going into the final period and 4-3 with 4 minutes remaining, before Eric Galbraith tied it up at 4-4 and Jordan Meyer stuck the winner in just 46 seconds from time. They're next in action over the weekend when they play back-to-back away games in Scotland against the Fife Flyers and Edinburgh Capitals. Tonight is the Lincolnshire Senior Trophy semi-finals, and Brigtown and Louth Town will fight it out for a place in the final. Meanwhile, Bartontown Old Boys travel to Glasshout Welfare in the Northern Counties Premier League. Tomorrow night, Botsford Town are in action as they travel to Dronfield Town in Division 1. The FC Learning Centre, based at the KC Stadium, has announced a new 3-year partnership with local safety wear company Arco. It operates in conjunction with the Hull FC Community Foundation, which will see over 300 local people benefit from new projects geared at supporting personal and educational achievement through sport. And North Ferriby United manager Billy Heath is targeting a 5th successive clean sheet when his side travel to Bath City on Saturday. Villagers are just 2 legs of a semi-final away from a trip to Wembley, and a clean sheet away in the first leg would set them up well for a second leg on Saturday week. And that's all for the sport.
That's all we have time for this evening, I'm afraid. If you can't get in contact, you know the details on the screen. But until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Windy, mild and mainly cloudy on Wednesday, though some brighter spells are possible. Patchy rain at times, mainly over western hills, becoming more isolated later in the day, and a maximum temperature of 9 degrees. Thursday will be windy, with rain giving way to some showers.